Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 29th day of August. Got a lot of the cuts out of the way in the NFL. Going to give you my thoughts on that Trey Lance trade. That's pretty interesting. Not sure what Dallas is thinking there. Also got Rich Ferris coming in 30 minutes past the hour. Going to get his thoughts on the Titans college football Final Four. By the way, I'll have that Final Four prediction Thursday on Thursday's program. Tomorrow, I'll touch a little bit on Wednesday's program. Heisman Trophy, who I think is going to win it. Give you some teams that will be on the bubble of the playoff. Talk a little Tennessee, USC tomorrow. Go over some college football teams. I'll make those predictions on Thursday. And also tonight, talk about the Jets seem to be getting some breaks here lately. I'll talk about that as well and more. Let's go ahead and take our first and only break, and we'll be back here in 49 seconds on Sports Scope. We'll hit the ground running. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Righty then, I'm back here live on all links here. Folks, of course, I was out Friday, had to work. I was out Monday, Friday, between Friday and Sunday, I did the math on this stuff. And no wonder I was dragging Sunday afternoon. I worked out of 48 hours in 2 days. I worked 28 out of those 48. I worked 7:30 a.m. Friday morning to midnight. After midnight Saturday morning, got back up, went back to work at 11 a.m. Saturday morning, and then got off work. Didn't get home till 1 a.m. Sunday morning. Went to church at 8 because a friend of mine, he travels from Hopkinsville, went there. Didn't want to do it, but did that anyways. And pretty much laid around all day Sunday trying to recover. And then Monday, you saw, got a chance to edit some good interviews. That's not going to happen a lot now that we're starting into the season. But I had to put that money back, because this is part of the sacrifice, okay? So that's everything in a nutshell. Thank you, Pickles. Hashtag SportsScope. Now, been wanting to talk about this since this story broke on Friday afternoon, I want to say. Trey Lance, as I talked about and predicted on this show, that he has fallen during camp. He had fallen behind Sam Darnold. He's third string. Brock Purdy's back. Mentioned that I was way out in front of the national media on that, just kind of keeping up with that particular story. Now, I'll say this. So Friday, he was traded to Dallas for a fourth-round pick. Now, I simply, my first reaction is still the reaction I have now. I don't know what Dallas is thinking. They have Dak Prescott locked up for this year and next year. He's a massive cap hit. He is a massive cap hit between this year and next year if they had to cut him or whatever. Cooper Rush, remember this. Cooper Rush went 4-1. Remember, Dak got hurt for 5 games last year. He was hurt in the opening night against Tampa when they won. Cooper Rush comes in, gets some huge wins, including the win over Cincinnati. And he has one loss against what we found out later to be a Philadelphia Eagle football team. And the rest is history. The guy's still on he's less than $2 million cap hit. You look at Dak Prescott's numbers here. There's the only thing is that I can even think of is this is Jerry Jones trying to light a fire under Dak Prescott, who led the league in interceptions last year. Now, mind you, they moved off Keelan Moore. They supposedly fired him. All right. Hired this other guy, Schottenheimer, but really as offensive coordinator, but really it is McCarthy. He's going to be calling the plays. I like what they did. I like the additions they've added on defense, adding Brandon Cook as receiver. This team, 2-12 win seasons in a row. Best takeaways in the league, I want to say 2 years in a row as well. Giveaway, takeaway, opportunistic defense. They really did not need to make this move. I don't like it. I don't think it's going to turn the team over or anything. But I'm just from a Dallas standpoint, I really do not like this move. I know it's just a 4th-round pick. I know he's only going to make $900 and something thousand and some change this year, but they're still on the books between $5 and $6 million in dead cap, and that his actual salary, Trey Lance, will go up to $5 at the end or next year as well. But that'll be on the Cowboys' books. So it's just not a lot of real. Maybe you use him for packages. I don't know. I don't know that. I just. But I'll say this. From if you look at this thing from every dimension possible, all right, let's go back to 2021 when this trade was made. The 49ers, they had the 12th pick overall, and they had to move up to 3. They moved up to 3 to get Trey Lance. And supposedly Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. John Lynch wanted Trey Lance. But let's revisit that trade, folks. All right. They gave up their 12th pick. They gave up a 3rd-round pick in 22 the next year. They gave up a 1st round in 22. And then they gave up a 1st round this past draft. All right. And they went up to 3 and got Trey Lance. And you say, well, what did Denver do with that? Or what did Miami end up doing with that? Well, Miami come out like a bandit in that deal, like my dad would say. They went out and they used this through trades and maneuvers. They got Jalen Waddle out of this, the speedy wide receiver from Alabama. They used part of this trade, these trade pieces to go out and get Tyreek Hill, who's turned out to be a good play for Miami. Now, they're paying him a lot of money, but as far as the talent and productiveness, Tyreek has been a player for the Miami Dolphins. And they also used part of this to get Denver's Bradley Chubb added onto this. So, I mean, they come out really well. 3 heavily contributed players there that are paying dividends and then some, to say the least. All right. Let's look at the 49ers side of this thing. Now, the 49ers, on the other hand, now, Brock Purdy, getting him the next year in the 7th round, the very last pick in the 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant, that saved John Lynch's job. That saved Kyle Shanahan's job there. So you look at it from that perspective there. Mind you, this team has been to the NFC Championship not 1 but 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row they've been to the NFC Championship game, and they just could not do nothing with Trey Lance. And I think they're going to come out okay. Now they've got his money off the books. That's going to free up some space. They need to go out and work out something this week. As we speak, it's 5 p.m. Pacific time. As we speak, they need to go out there and make it happen and get Nick Bosa, the ferocious pass rusher, back on that team. If I'm a 49er fan, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get that Nick Bosa signed up and ready to go. Pickle says pay Bosa now. Yeah, pay Bosa now. So speaking of Jerry Jones, Pickle says Jerry Jones may have gotten lucky again. This is what he had to say. Good transition there. This is Jerry Jones after this trade was made. Listen up.
Had we been able to draft him with next year's 4, the kind of talent he was in this draft, like I just told you 2 years ago, we were looking at Philadelphia quarterback, I'm not calling him names, but looking at him. Had he fallen to us there, we would have drafted him. It is our plan when we can, but it very seldom happens to have someone of a high enough quality to be there at the right place with our draft pick. This one worked. And so
yeah, and I think he meant 3 years ago when he was talking about Jalen Hurts in the Philadelphia. So Jerry Jones sounds like there is a little bit of buyer's remorse on paying Dak Prescott all this money. That he's sending the signal to Prescott in that comment, in those particular comments, that hey, this is your notice, okay? But here's the bad news, okay? It's 2023, right? This is Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's a $26 million cap hit this year. He's an $89 million dead cap. If they cut Dak Prescott today, it would be a disaster in Dallas, okay? Next year, he's a $59 million cap hit, Dak Prescott. His dead cap is $61 million. It's went down. And then in 25, that year 25 is void. That year would be void for him. So, and then you look at Trey Lance. So this is why this doesn't really make any sense other than simply, excuse me, this doesn't make any sense. By the way, all the cuts are made today. Cooper Rush is still on. He's still on the roster for the Dallas Cowboys. They got 3 quarterbacks. You know, Trey Lance like, hey, I want to be a number 2 somewhere. Well, you're traded to Dallas and you're still number 3 quarterback. You know, go figure. Now, they'll still have Lance this year, per se. They'll still have him on a good number this year, and they'll have him next year. He's a $5 million cap hit, and then you have the 5th-year option there, okay? But that number goes way up. It's up in the 20s, you know. So it doesn't feel like nothing but just putting a fire under Dak Prescott and a guy you might be able to use as some type of read option type of offense. Again, overall, I don't like it. And you say, well, what should Dallas have done? I went on and on about Dallas's defense. If I can find a weakness in Dallas's defense, it would probably be at defensive tackle. I've talked ad nauseum about how the Kansas City Chiefs, they will regret. By the way, he's put on some kind of reserve something with Chris Jones. There's no end in sight with Chris Jones, the 29-year-old dominant defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. I would have called Kansas City. I would have tried to make a deal for the Chiefs. You have 80-plus-year-old Jerry Jones there. This is the best team, in my opinion, since the Jimmy Johnson's team, since their last one in 95-96. Jim Jeffcoat says it's the best in 10 years. I disagree. I think this is the best team since those championship teams. I do think Mike McCarthy's a championship coach. I do think they've worked out a few kinks in their offense and defense. I do think they're going to cut down on interceptions and turnovers. You'll get my final predictions next week, Labor Day week. But I'm leaning pretty heavy for Dallas to win the NFC East. Why not go all in, get the tackle? You've already got a Micah Parsons on the outside. Go out and get a Chris Jones, put him at the top of the ball. You've got Trayvon Diggs. And then, of course, you've got the other cornerback. His name's slipping my mind, Stephon Gilmore at the other cornerback. You have a dominant defense, even more dominant defense. You play field position, and you go after another ring. How simple is that? So that's my take on it. Okay. And of course, if Trey Lance don't work out, it's not a big loss here. But I guess another option would be that maybe you go as far as you can with Dak, and then you trade Dak next year after this year is over with, and you find somebody to get that 4th round pick back, because they're going to have to cover that salary for a 30-year-old Dak Prescott. Maybe somebody else figure out if they could do something with him. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think they're going to play well this year. They'll probably move off Lance in about a year or so. That's my opinion. That as of today, August 29th, right? So before Rich moves in, I've got a few other topics to touch on real quick here. Okay. Now, the Jets, I know they've had a guy walk away, retire, whatever, and Corey Davis, former Tennessee Titan, all you Titans fans out here. By the way, I want to thank Andrea or Andy, my friend from work at Vanderbilt, very attractive lady, said she really liked the show. That made me feel good today. Thank you, Andy, for watching SportsGo. Good to see some of my friends at Vanderbilt and everything watching the program saying hang in there. Greatly appreciate that. Back to the Jets. Okay. Excuse me. Both Dwayne Brown at left tackle and Micaiah Becton at right tackle are both they're both not even on the injury report for the New York Jets. Excuse me. You throw in a Von Miller, he's been put on the PUP. That's the dominant pass rusher. Kind of a bill of goods. I kind of thought, you know what, 33, Buffalo, you're overpaying for this guy. Maybe he works out this year. That was last year. But now, excuse me, Von Miller is on the PUP. Will McDonald, the edge rusher for the 15th overall pick. Well, I thought maybe they should have went with offensive lineman. He's having a great camp. I've read some predictions over the internet that maybe he's rookie defensive player of the year with C.J. Mosley. Obviously, Quentin Williams. You've got Sauce Gardner. And now Rodgers looks like he may be protected. Plus, he looked great in that little bit of time he played in the preseason game over the weekend. So things are turning in the direction of the Jets. They probably still need to pick up another wide receiver somewhere, maybe a T.Y. Hilton, somebody like that, somebody that's out there, a Brashard Perriman, someone of that nature. Other than that, they look really good. And right now, I would pick them to win September 11th against Buffalo, which sets the tone for the whole division right now. So they look to be cooking with gas, the way my dad would say it. Boy, I got this lingering cough, man, I tell you. All righty then. So those are some observations. I've got a lot more stuff to get to. Probably won't get to it, but I will talk about this. Now, Jonathan Taylor. Couple of different angles on takes on Taylor. He was also put on the PUP. He did not get traded to the Dolphins like we all thought that he was going to do. The Dolphins have been making cap space all week on their roster. Part of me thinks the Dolphins, they're taking these big swings. They go out and get Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, swing. And now all of a sudden they're choking up the bat pickles. They're laying down bunts. They're trying to do the suicide squeeze. They lost out on Dalvin Cook, which they can make money from that. You know, they could have paid him more. He's from Miami. I know they could have made that happen if they wanted to. Okay, so that fell through. There have been talks all week. Last week, all the way up to the deadline at 4 p.m. Eastern today, that Dalvin Cook or excuse me, that Jonathan Taylor was going to be dealt to the Dolphins. That fell through. Taylor has got this ankle injury. There's questions about this ankle injury. Is he really holding out so he doesn't get fined? We don't know. We don't. I know he had an ankle injury last year. Means no, never mind. The flip side of this thing is maybe Jim Irsay is simply being too stingy with this player. Okay, he was a second-round pick. He's coming off an injury. He's still 24 years old, can catch the ball. Got a great, not a good, but a great resume there. I wouldn't call him the best running back. And this team was willing to, they were willing to get, he had 4,600 yards from scrimmage, 36 touchdowns through 43 games, and a 3-year tenure there coming into year 4. So I do think Irsay is being difficult in one sense, and in another sense, maybe Miami's kind of choking up. Now, that being said, they've got a really good general manager, Chris Grier, okay? And I'm thinking to myself that maybe they just like Raheem Mostert. They cut Myles Gaskin Pickles, but Mostert has been hurt on and off. Now, apparently he's healthy. He could run like the wind blows, but it would look a lot better in that backfield with the Jonathan Taylor, with the Dalvin Cook. Maybe they go sign Kareem Hunt before the season starts. Sign him for peanuts. He's still out there. Somebody of that nature. They upgraded their defensive coordinator here. They're supposed to get Jalen Ramsey back around December. They would have been an easy pick to win if Ramsey never got hurt. But now Ramsey's hurt. Now they just have one at Xavier Howard. They do got Bradley Chubb in the trade I just mentioned, Pickles, there on the edge here. They do have a good defensive coordinator, slipping my name here, but he's a former Denver coach. He's really made to be a good coordinator. Kind of like Dan Quinn. Quinn is he's more of a defensive-minded guy. He's more of a coordinator material than he is head coaching material. So we'll see how this thing plays out. The Colts have already named Anthony Richardson as the starter there. So we'll see how that plays out. I think that the part of being Richardson being the starter of that offense, remember you've got Steichen that comes over from Philadelphia. They're going to run that Eagles offense there where Richardson's going to get a lot of carries. He's going to be a great fantasy play, but I don't think they're going to win a lot of games. I think they'll probably win 4 or 5 games. I would probably take the over with the Colts, or the under, with the Colts of 6.5 wins. But Irsay is getting to be out there a little bit. He's starting to become the erratic owner that nobody wants to play for if they stay at this point. Dropping quarterback, bench this guy, play this guy, fire this coach, bring this coach in here. Just rapid fire. He's still got his general manager. Now, Chris Ballard's been there. He's a good GM. I've liked a lot of the picks that he's made over the years. Not overpaying for a wide receiver. Taking care of the offensive line. Bringing in DeForest Buckner. Guys like that. But he's missed on quarterbacks other than bringing in who was the guy's name here? The quarterback there, Pickles from the San Diego Chargers there. Bringing him in for 1 year. Matt Ryan didn't work out. Quite frankly, Wentz, he just folded there at the end. They were down in the playoffs there. He's a complicated guy. You never know what side of the bed he's going to wake up on in Indianapolis there. So it's really hard to get a read on what he's going to do. But when you start making the Phillip Rivers, thank you, Pickles. Yeah, it was Phillip Rivers. They did play well with him. But it was just 1 year guy. He was towards the end of his career there. But I did read a story the other day that Rivers, there was talks of him coming and playing for, I want to say the 49ers or somebody, or So he's flirting with it. Never happened. Ben Roethlisberger, he was flirting with coming back. Never did last year. Maybe something happens this year. I doubt it. But the Colts are just the Colts right now. I mentioned this from the beginning. I think the Colts, Jim Irsay thinks that he's doing a lot of the winning for the Colts. And really, he had, I think, was it Bill Polian? Bill Polian just happened to draft Peyton Manning in 98, in April of 98. And then, almost 20 years later, you get Andrew Luck, Andrew Bleeping Luck, and then he all of a sudden retires. You know, you've got about 25 years of great quarterback play or something like that. And now you don't have Bill Polian. Now you don't have these two Hall of Famers there. Well, probably not Luck because he premature, but he had the talent to be a Hall of Famer. But now you're looking at a guy who's realizing maybe I do need help. Maybe I do need to surround myself with football people, and everything is not on me. Okay, so let's see how this stuff plays out. There's other stories. I'm aware C.J. Stroud's going to be starting. By the way, I got Richard Ferris coming up in a few minutes. If you're a Titans fan, you're going to go against C.J. Stroud twice this year. Already named the starter. Stroud on the road against Baltimore. Say no more to open up his season, his career. That's going to be rough. Even though they without their leading corner, they're still a really good defense. Not as dominant as they used to be. Then you've got Anthony Richardson with the Colts. So the Titans, as of today, that's 4 wins for the Titans. That should be 4 wins for Jacksonville with those 2 rookie quarterbacks, if you ask me. So that just reiterates the fact that I just want to reiterate that, yeah, it's between Tennessee and Jacksonville. I'm giving Jacksonville a slight edge, but I'm breaking down every game. I'm going to wake up. Actually, I'll tell you what, this weekend, Sunday, I'm going to do one division. I'm going to do one division in the NFL. And then not on a program. I'm just telling you all this. Just a little inside baseball stuff here. And then of my schedule. And then I'm off Labor Day. And then all day Labor Day, I'll be working on NFL schedules. Looking up, comparing how many starters are coming back. Easiest schedule to hardest schedule. The Eagles, 32nd ranked schedule last year. The Eagles this year, Pickles, the 1st ranked schedule. It's not going to be such a cakewalk for them, all right? So I got to look at stuff like that, although I do love their draft. They had a really good draft. Jalen Carter looks to be really good, Nolan Smith. But they've had some injuries. They keep their line together. It's a big if. You got 2 30-something plus guys there. They're still going to be tough to beat. But Dallas, I've already went on with them ad nauseum. So it's going to be an interesting next few days here. But, yeah, Taylor will be out. Kyler Murray, I'll look. I've got some sound bites on Kyler Murray's situation getting weirder by the moment. He's not going to be playing to open the season. Arizona with the wild trades here. They cut Colt McCoy. That's a story I'll get into in a little bit more depth tomorrow. But they are clearly tanking. Rich or Gannon, Coach Gannon, I can't remember the guy. I won't call him Rich Gannon. That's a former quarterback. Jonathan Gannon is not even listed the quarterback yet for the Arizona Cardinals. You know, and just speaking of the devil, that is Mr. Rich Ferris. Let me bring him in. Titans, let me say this about the Titans. I read that the Titans, everybody that Ron Carthon drafted made the team. Everybody this guy drafted made the team. Rich Ferris, how you doing, man?
What's up? How's it going?
Hey, did you, I don't know if you caught what I was saying earlier. This now, are you surprised that everybody that Ran Carthon drafted and made the team? How about that, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Colton Dow might be the biggest surprise of that, being the 7th round guy.
Yeah.
Had a feeling they were going to keep Josh Wiley, the tight end. But Dow was kind of, they had some decent depth on their back end of the wide receiver group that they had. So he was kind of one that I was curious to see if made it. They actually had 10. They have 10 rookies that made the initial 53. 3 of those were undrafted, of course.
Wow.
So like Yaris Jackson from Georgia, and I'd have to look up the other 2 names. But there was a corner that made the team that I'll get to here in just a bit. But they have 10 rookies now on the 53-man roster at the moment.
That's really something, man. It's hard to make a team. This isn't the charitable organization. Those guys made the team because they're good football players.
Yeah.
I've liked this guy ever since I read about him. It seems like everything he's done is hit. He's red hot, man. Brunskill's playing well. You mentioned Sean Murphy-Bunting. He's starting at corner, right?
He's either going to be starting outside or inside of the 3 cornerbacks. So yeah, he'll definitely be a big part of the starting defense.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on Trayvon Burks? I was seeing him practice a little bit the other day.
It's good to see him along. Yeah, it's good to see him practice. A little bit of surprise, I think, to some people to see him back, but glad that he is, and it's a good sign that he'll be ready for Week 1 against New Orleans.
Wow. And that was such a scary. Remember the last time I had you on was when that happened a couple weeks ago, man.
Yeah, you were thinking the worst initially, and glad that it wasn't the case with him in his knee. But him being back out on the practice field is really encouraging.
Yeah. Like Allen Iverson say, I'm gonna flip it around. We are talking about practice. I'm happy to see him practice.
Yeah.
Not quite in the game.
I think this roster, though, to start, I guess the whole making the 53-man roster, I think, is so overblown and overrated, in my opinion, because this is going to change in probably a week or two. Somebody's going to get signed that they, got let go from another team.
Yeah.
And so somebody else that made the initial 53 is going to get bumped off there. So there's a lot of, the back end of the roster getting churned. So, I think it's kind of crazy. You'll see some guys make the 53-man roster. People make a big deal about it. And then the next week they'll be released because somebody else they found and wanted to be on the roster. So I don't know. I'm sure as a player, you love that, especially if you were on that bubble. But just know, I think it's one of the more overrated or overblown, days. It is interesting to see some of the cuts that they made. I'm not super surprised.
I was surprised he got let go.
Who's that?
Racy, was it McGrath or whatever?
Racy McMath. Well, I think just like we were talking about the wide receivers, I mean, they had a bunch of guys there on that, back in the roster. I'm a little surprised that they kept 7, to be honest. They have 7 wide receivers. I wasn't super surprised about Racy McMath because he hasn't done a whole lot during the camp. He made a couple catches here and there in preseason, but nothing really stood out to me. I was a little surprised, like I said, with Colton Dow. I mean, he made some plays, but wasn't sure that he was actually going to make it. I thought maybe Mason Kinsey would have made it over him. But they ultimately waived Mason Kinsey. But I had a good feeling that Kearis Jackson would have made the team just because of special teams, kick return, punt returner, and had that touchdown in the last game against New England. That late touchdown with Malik Willis.
Chestnut. He was a second round. I don't remember him last year. Was he on the practice squad last year? Your guy Chestnut?
Yeah, he was on the team last year. I think he initially was on the practice squad, and then when injuries happened, and he made it on the roster. But he suited up a few games. Couldn't tell you how many, but he was on the team for sure.
Yeah, and Haskins got in a little bit of trouble. He might not be there for a while, right?
Well, they put him on IR originally, yesterday, I think. Yeah. And then today they put him on the commissioner's exempt list. So there's probably going to be some kind of suspension coming. But he's basically, done right now.
That's
don't know
not
what's
good
worse
when you
being-
got Chestnut balling, right?
Well, I mean, they
Spears?
got him and Spears. I mean, had an incredible preseason.
Yeah.
Actually, Chestnut, I think, led the AFC in rushing during preseason this year.
Good call, man. Good
And
call,
so,
Allstate.
yeah, the Titans actually had some pretty decent numbers in this preseason. Malik Willis was actually, I think, led the AFC in passing yards.
Wow.
Like I said, Chestnut led the league in, or led the AFC in rushing. Their
Okay.
total defense was second overall, or no, first overall. So there was some pretty good stats there. Also, Caleb Murphy, who I believe I mentioned last time, led the AFC in sacks for the preseason with 4.
Man,
he made the roster, which was expected. He's basically backing up either Arden Key or Harold Landry now.
And Arden Key. This guy, Rand Carthon, he's our Ozzie. Remember Ozzie Newsom? He used to be the general manager for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy had just an eye for talent, man. There's a guy named McKenzie. He used to work with the Green Bay Packers. Now he's an assistant general manager with the Dolphins. Just one of those, Reggie McKenzie, that's it.
Yeah.
It just popped in my head. Just has a good eye for talent. I think Tennessee may have got that next star general manager. It's a big deal, man. It's a big deal to have a guy like that that's got an eye for. Now, of course, we ain't played a game yet, but they do look good in spots that he seemed like he's really done a good job. So far, so good. How do you see this team playing out, man?
Well, just since it's roster day, I wasn't surprised to see them carry the 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Not surprised that the running backs that made the team. Was a little surprised about the wide receivers. I think, I've already touched on that.
Yeah.
They have 3 tight ends. I wouldn't be surprised if they added maybe a tight end there. That's a position I'd keep an eye out, especially with they have the rookie tight end backing up Okonkwo, and then they always kind of keep a blocking tight end in Trayvon West Coast, who they have now, which he was kind of pushed pretty hard by Thomas Okunja from there was an overseas player, I believe, that was doing really well as a blocking tight end, since they don't really keep a fullback on their roster or use one. Now, the offensive line, I think, is probably the biggest concern. They kept 10 guys, which I think is a lot. And I think it's because they're not satisfied or set on that offensive line on who's going to be where. And obviously, we know Nicholas Petit-Frere is suspended and won't be back for a few weeks. I'm just intrigued, and hearing Vrabel talk in press conferences and in the media, it just seems like he's not satisfied at all with the offensive line. He keeps saying that they need to do more and have their good times, good spots here and there, but definitely seems like a concern still of his.
Yeah,
and with them keeping that many bodies on the roster, it makes me wonder if there's somebody, whether that be a right tackle, left tackle, or whatever, that he's looking to try to make sure he gets the right, front 5 guys there. And I think the only people that's really safe, I would say, would be the rookie Peter Skoronski at left guard and the center Brewer. Other than that, I think they're definitely looking at maybe adding a right tackle. Right now, Chris Hubbard's the right tackle.
Yeah, what do you think about him?
I think he's just okay. I don't know if I'm thrilled about him being the starter, but I just think that there's something to give there. I mean, they kept 5 backups, so I wonder if they're wondering if somebody there can compete and still earn that a spot either at right guard, right tackle, maybe even left tackle. I know it was a good sign to see Dylan Radins come back from PUP.
Okay.
From his injury last year, so he's back on the roster and was back in practice.
Yeah.
He's a 2nd-round pick and hasn't really had a good showing so far in his career. So you're kind of hoping that maybe he's a guy that can step up and maybe be more talented, and somebody like a Hubbard that can take over the right tackle spot or even at right guard over Brunskill. So
And
I
that's
think
what
there's a
that-
lot to
yeah.
desire still at the offensive line, and I think Vrabel's thinking that as well.
Yeah, the fact that you said that makes me think that's the reason why I haven't just crowned them the way Dennis Green would say. I want to crown their rear end. I can't crown their rear end if they don't have that line situated. And that's my only really concern. And I appreciate you. That's good content right there, man. You're saying that they're keeping 10 guys. You thought they was going to keep 8 maybe?
I was thinking maybe, yes, 8 would be the max I would thought, maybe 7. That's usually a sign that you know who the starters are.
Yeah.
And they just want to keep maybe a versatile inside guy and a versatile tackle there. But carrying another 5, carrying 5 backups is kind of just intriguing to me. And just hearing everything that Vrabel's saying just seems like he's not, satisfied with this group just yet. Yeah. And even with the left tackle Andre Dillard, he played up until late third quarter against New England.
Oh, wow.
And he was asked about that, why is, that starter? And he just basically said it was a coach's decision. So just makes me think that he's, trying to evaluate him more and try to really see if he wants him to be the starting left tackle. So,
wow.
I'm not concerned to the extent where, I think the O-line is going to be worse than it was last year.
Yeah.
That's pretty hard feat to beat. It can always be worse, but I'm definitely hoping that won't be the case this year.
Yeah.
Because I do believe elsewhere on this offense, it looks really good. I just think that they have a really good chance of being a good offense as long as that offensive line gets figured out.
Yeah, that's true, man. So what's your Will Levis? Are you concerned about his injury starting to mount up with Will Levis?
Not really. I mean, if all goes as planned, he's not going to see the field anyways this season.
Okay.
I would hope that Ryan Tannehill stays healthy and has a good year. And so the only time I want to see him or Malik on the field would be if Titans are up big in a game and want to
38-7.
Well, something like that to bring in a backup quarterback to finish the game. But I'm not concerned with him. I think he's still, regardless of this season, I think he's going to be in the mix to be the starter next year if Ryan Tannehill is not back.
Yeah, and that's my thing. If the line's jacked up, Tannehill could get hurt again. I'm kind of glad they kept the 3 quarterbacks. Pickle says, who's returning punts on special teams? Do you have an idea?
Well, Kearis Jackson, the wide receiver from Georgia I mentioned earlier, has been doing a lot of those duties. I'm pretty sure that's kind of the reason why he made the team.
Okay. Phillips is hurt, isn't he? Didn't he return some last year?
Phillips is hurt again.
Yeah.
He's probably going to miss a few weeks with his injury.
Yeah.
And I'm just not super sold on him anyways. I mean, he's been hurt since he's been here.
That's true.
He looks great in training camp, and he's quick. He's, seems like a guy that could come in and be a great slot receiver, but got to stay healthy, and he's not doing that. So, the next man up mentality. But I do feel good about their 4 guys that'll probably see the field more. Obviously, Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins, but Chris Moore and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, I think, are good, solid backups to them. And if you can get some work out of Phillips when he gets back healthy, or you get something out of the rookie Colton Dowell or Kearis Jackson, that'd be a big plus.
Yeah. What about you just mentioned him just now? Did Moore come over from Houston?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like a 6-year vet.
Showing out in the preseason, man. Every time he makes plays,
Well, that's main reasons because he's the starter. Really, Treylon Burks didn't play much, if at all. DeAndre Hopkins didn't play any this preseason, so he got some time to get some snaps and make some catches. I know for sure in the Chicago game he made some pretty good catches, and he's a 6-year or 7-year vet that I think will provide more than what
Westbrook.
No, from the guy from last year that came over from the Rams. I think he'll provide more
Robert
production.
Woods.
Robert Woods, yeah.
He's with Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of switch sides of the ball, I think the defense looks in really good shape. They have a some good depth there.
Yeah.
They have they kept 5 defensive linemen that I think are all going to be really
Man.
good. Jaden Peavy is one that's kind of, I mentioned last week. Obviously, Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry looked great.
Well, he
the
did
New
make
England
a good play the other day, didn't he? He got
Yeah,
that
he's-
fumble, didn't he?
Yeah, he's got to be one of the top free agents that the Titans have ever had. I'd put him up there with like a Chris Hope or Nate Washington as just a good free agent
Man.
signing. Probably the best one of John Robinson's era.
Yeah.
Tier Tart and Naquan Jones are good nose
Well, I
tackles.
love Garrett Tart. Is he
Yeah.
getting that shape in it? He's big, man.
Yeah, he's a big round guy. I mean, he's strong. He
He's
pushes the
Washington
pocket.
Nichols.
He's everything you want out of a nose tackle, and
He's an ideal
Naquan
nose
Jones
tackle.
is just like
Yeah.
him.
I love that guy.
An
You're
outside
right.
linebacker, I think they're really good. They only kept 4, which I kind of felt like they weren't going to keep a lot of linebackers.
Okay.
They obviously have Landry and Arden Key as your starters.
Okay.
And behind them is Rashad Weaver and Caleb Murphy that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Inside linebackers where it gets kind of interesting. Al Shire, I think, is going to be great. And they kept, Monty Rice that was a 3rd-round pick a few years ago from Georgia, who hasn't played much and has this weird just hasn't been available is all that really Vrabel's been saying. But he made the team over Chance Campbell, who I thought was kind of a lock to be on the team. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And you mentioned this Al Jazeera guy, kind of like Al Jazeera TV, right? Except it's a football player, not a Arab
a media
news station.
company.
Yeah. He's another guy comes over from the 49ers. I totally forgot. I didn't even notice this guy because the Niners have so many star defensive players.
Mhm.
Fred Warner. He's kind of lost in the shuffle. But I think it was Charles Davis who was calling the game, said, man, this guy has had a really good camp, man. And another guy, they like Richard Petty said, a guy who's named after, I'd rather be lucky than good. They really got lucky with some of these guys. I know they're good, but man.
Yeah, and with Rand Carthon coming over from the 49ers, he was very familiar with him, as well as Arden Key and Brunskill to bring them over here. And I think Al Shire will provide that middle linebacker that Mike Vrabel is looking for with a lot of speed. He showed, in the New England game where they started most of their defense, just with him flying around and being, on side to side, sideline to sideline, and getting north and south in the run game. He showed, all of that, and really excited to see him team up with these other guys. Couple of interesting is they kept 5 cornerbacks. Kendall is the receiver or the cornerback that I was mentioning earlier. That's one of the undrafted rookies that made the team. There was a couple of pretty good cornerbacks on the back end here that was fighting for a spot. There was a cornerback, Eric Guerra, that I thought was playing pretty well. That I thought he would probably get over versus and then Stephen Jones was another one who made a couple plays. I thought had a good chance. So they had some good luck with some depth there at corner. But they decided to keep 5 cornerbacks with obviously Fulton McQuarrie and Murphy Bunton. And then Trey Avery is a guy who's an undrafted guy that they had last year that's going to be providing some depth and doing really well on special teams that they like. And then
Are you
the other
that Sean Murphy Bunton beat out McQuarrie, the second-year player from Auburn?
I don't think that they're really competing. I think that McQuarrie is likely going to be their nickel guy, and I think that's probably where he ideally wanted to play last year, even though he played outside. So I think they have a good versatility out of them to be able to both can play inside or outside. And I think that there's a lot of defenses now. You have to start 3 corners, and I don't see them really competing for a lot of playing time. I think it's just going to be more of a matchup thing.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? I haven't made my prediction. I'll do mine next week. Now, if you're not, I still feel like they're probably just on the edge of winning this division. but they can do it. We got to see that line in real action. I'm thinking 9-8, maybe 10-7. Just depends on how that unit gels, man.
Yeah, it is ultimately, I think, the offensive line that's a concern there.
Yeah.
I could see them being a 10-17, but
and winning the division.
Yeah, I think it would come down to the last game of the season against the Jaguars again,
just like last year. Mm-hmm. We're on the same page, dude. We're on the same page there.
Yeah, I think that the Titans. I can't say that they're going to win the division until they do it because the Jaguars are the reigning champions. Even though I felt like the Titans should have won that game and just was, one play away. Kind of the story of their, franchise. One play away from winning the Super Bowl. One play away.
I know.
From getting the playoffs last year.
I'm still sick in my stomach from that January of 2000, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think until they knock the Jaguars off of that, it's the Jaguars. I'll put it this way: it's the Jaguars division to lose, and it's the Titans division to win. And so I think the Titans have a very good shot.
CJ Stroud is officially the starter with Houston, so that should be 2 wins. Should be in air quotes,
Yeah.
Added on, and I think the Colts as well. I mean, with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I think the Colts have really messed up. They could have had Jonathan Taylor there to kind of help that rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
And now they've got themselves in a mess. They wanted to trade him. Now they put him on PUP. Yeah. They didn't find a trade partner, so he's stuck on PUP now and can't play for the first 4 games. So regardless if he's traded or not, he can't play. So
wouldn't it be nice to open up the season against the Colts twice now?
They played them well, I don't think when Taylor comes back, I don't think he wants to play for them. I think he still gets traded.
That's a sticky situation, man. He might get traded around the trade deadline, which is in November, I think, this year. Miami just didn't come up, or maybe Jim Irsay got a little greedy there.
I think it's probably the latter of that. Irsay is just Jim's being Jimmy. He's doing some stuff that makes you scratch your head, but then you think about who it is, and you're like, well, he can't get out of his own way.
Yeah, I was telling the audience before you got on, man. He had Peyton Manning for about 15 years. Then he got 8 years out of Andrew Luck, and Bill Polian did a good job,
Yeah,
and he thinks it's all him. Now he realizes maybe it's the guys I had around me. I shouldn't be so crazy and erratic, but he's been pretty erratic here lately, and it's only going to drive away other free agents and good.
Oh yeah, these players talk. They talk and they text each other, and they know, hey, if this is a bad place to go to, they're going to stay away from there.
Yeah.
Unless they get thrown a lot of money.
Yeah.
That changes things. But before we move on from Titans too, they also today traded for a kicker. The kicker's been kind of
Nick Folk. I almost forgot. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Nick Folk?
I think it's they gave up a 7th round pick from 2025 for him.
Yeah, right.
And that gets you a really good kicker that's is a veteran. It's been there, made a lot of kicks. I'm not surprised at the move. They needed to make the move because they've been shuffled. They had 2 guys that were rookies, I believe, last year.
Yeah.
They were battling in camp. They released both of them, signed Badgley. Right. I didn't think he had as bad of a game as what people made it out to be. The preseason game. He did miss a field goal, but they decided that he wasn't the guy and they cut him. And then, they were without a kicker for a few days, and then today they made the move to get Nick Folk. There was surprise a lot of kickers getting traded and cut and stuff.
That is true, man.
Around the league today. Nick Folk being one of them, and he's going to be a Tennessee Titan now, and hopefully that works out, because if so, that'd be a great. You give up a 7th round pick the year after next, and you get a good solid kicker for a season or 2. Then I think that's a really good win.
He's 39, folks, but I want to say Anderson, the Titans had, he was way up in his 40s.
Oh, yeah, Gary Anderson.
Yeah, little bitty guy. Remember, he kicked the game winner against Baltimore to beat the Ravens that year.
Mm-hmm.
And Titans went on. They later lost to the Patriots that year. But, hey, Gary Anderson was like 45 years old or something.
Oh, yeah.
Out there.
He was – he was here for a while too, or
Yeah,
maybe
he was
even
good,
maybe
man.
even was here a couple of times. But I want did he get in the Hall of Fame? If not, he should. I think he's one of the
They're
top.
very reluctant to put kickers in, but I think
Well, I think he's
Vinatieri's,
the highest scoring kicker in league history. So if he's not in the I could be wrong on that, but if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he should be.
Yeah. Pickles says George Blanda played till he's 47. That was back in the Raiders.
Yeah.
Not to get too far off topic here, but there was a picture of George Blanda on the internet at 47 or whatever. And there was a picture of Tom Brady. I think Brady's 47 also, or 45, whatever.
Yeah.
Blanda looks 78, and Brady looks about 34.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks probably younger than both of us right now. I mean, it's crazy.
But Blanda looks way older than my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, at that age, you could tell the difference between the eras. You know,
I think George Blanda. I know. I know the guy in Minnesota, Tarkenton, but I think Blanda did too. Kicked extra points. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See,
Pickles
big grand quarterback. Yeah. So, I believe him and Fran Tarkenton both played kicker as well as the quarterback.
Now, Ray Guy got into the Hall of Fame. He was a punter.
Yeah.
They got awards named after that dude. I do got to ask you about this. Trey Lance. That's a talk of the, I think it's Dallas. I don't really see any big upgrade for Dallas. What's your thoughts on, speaking of the 49ers, Trey Lance getting traded to Dallas?
I think I heard something along the lines that the move was made and nobody knew about it except for the owner.
Jerry.
I think Jerry Jones made the move and didn't tell his coach or anything that he was doing it, is what I heard.
See, now you're breaking news to me, brother. I did not hear that.
I mean, I don't know if that's 100% correct, but that's kind of some sources that I've seen.
It sounds like Jerry Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Jim Irsay are very close.
Yeah.
I think Irsay's a little bit worse at this point, but I think it's a weird move. I mean, I don't know why the Cowboys decided to make that move. I felt like they had a pretty solid backup quarterback that came in last year, right?
4-1 last year. Remember, he beat Cincinnati?
Yeah, so it's a weird move, I think, for them. And the other part is you still don't know what Trey Lance is. Is he going to be anything in this league, or is he just a complete bust? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. It's my opinion. It was simply put there to light a fire under Dak. They've got 2 years left on Dak, just to light a fire to him. They moved off their offensive coordinator. They brought in a new coordinator, but really McCarthy is calling the plays. If it was up to me, and even though he's not a big cap hit, I would have went after maybe a Chris Jones, who's available with Kansas City, by the way, could be available. He's holding out. 29-year-old defensive tackle. Go all in. Jerry's 80-something years old. He's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on the Final Four, man, in the college football, brother?
That's tough, man. I mean, you kind of obviously put Georgia in there because they're the reigning champions, and it's going to be interesting to see how their quarterback. I think they named their starting quarterback today, which I think was what everybody thought it was going to be. I didn't think they had a big. I don't think they had a big quarterback battle. I think they really did have a guy that's coming in to replace Stetson Bennett, but I don't know much about who that is, and but I do know that if they continue,
lost 25 players over the past 2 years.
Yeah, most of them are on the Eagles now.
Rosemary.
But I think you got to put Georgia in there just because they're the reigning champions. I imagine that they, just like Alabama in the past, decade, have just reloaded and ready to go. I think
Carson Beck. Does that ring a bell to you? I don't know. Who this guy
Carson
is.
Beck. That's who their starting quarterback is.
Okay.
I think Alabama has a good chance to rebound, even post, their quarterback situation.
Yeah.
With Bryce Young going to the Panthers in the draft. I think
that's going to be 11th hour too, by the way. 11th hour. Nick Saban is keeping his mouth. Everybody says it's
Oh, yeah.
Moreau on the paper, but he's like,
yeah.
so.
I think those two. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to say really outside the SEC at the moment because I'm not sure. You know, if like a TCU, I don't see coming back.
Okay.
Like they did Ohio State. You know, possibly.
No,
but they're
love
also
for
in the same boat. Yeah, Michigan's on the bubble there. You know, even Tennessee, you got to put in the mix, and there's a lot of expectations there that I personally would like to see. You know, them get into the playoffs, but it's all going to depend on their quarterback situation too.
You know something with Milton, I'm going to talk about Heisman tomorrow. He's got to be in there somewhere. I mean, I'm reading a lot of good stuff about Joe Milton, man.
Yeah, and I think what's promising about Joe Milton is, you know, in a bad situation with Hendon Hooker tearing his ACL late last season, he got to come in and he's had a season to really sit back and learn, and I think they really worked on a lot of technique with him. He's got incredible athleticism, incredible arm, and so I think they worked and got a lot of his fundamentals where he's using his legs, his hips more, and being a lot more accurate, and you know, and not having to rifle the football every time he throws the ball, and learning how to put a little touch on there. And you've seen that in the Vanderbilt game. You've seen that in the Orange Bowl against Clemson. And so if he can continue that and even be even better than that, then he should definitely be in the mix. Obviously, you can't count out the current Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams at USC.
Yeah.
But I would definitely put him in that mix. There's a bunch of good quarterbacks that are,
Daniel, how about Jalen
seniors
Daniels
this year.
from LSU?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's kind of interesting. I feel like he's got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
I don't really see a ton of what everybody else is seeing, but LSU could potentially be a pretty good team this year.
I'm going to give them serious consideration for.
Yeah, I think he's up there. I'd put maybe KJ Jefferson ahead of him from Arkansas.
Oh wow, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I totally forgot about that guy. Man, I can't wait to college.
But you got the quarterback in North Carolina. I can't think of his name right now. He's incredible. Yeah, he is incredible. I think
he's supposed to be a very high draft pick next year.
Yeah, I think between him, Caleb Williams,
Michael Penix,
from Oregon,
Bo Nix.
There's some, Bo Nix,
Yeah, I don't. He might win the Heisman. He's not going to be a big draft pick, I don't think.
He's bounced around so much; it's kind of hard to really know. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks in college right now, and next year in the draft, if you're looking for one, there's probably a good 6 or 7 guys that should be franchise quarterbacks.
I had Al Borges on here, former offensive coordinator from Michigan, calls the Michigan. Well, he does a podcast with the guy who calls the games, and he was telling me McCarthy's going to be a draft pick too. That's the quarterback, J.J. McCartney. I looked at a mock draft the other day. One mock draft have him going 21st to Minnesota. This could be a heavy quarterback draft.
Yeah, I think this. If you're looking for one, they're going to have them next year.
Yeah. So if the Titans screw it up again,
you know, that's what I thought. I thought, you know, with them having a 1 year with, thanks, Kathy.
Yeah.
I think with the Titans had like last year going in the draft with them knowing that Tannehill was going to be here for a year, I was a little surprised that they went ahead knowing that next year they could probably get a better quarterback.
That's true.
But, you know, they decided they wanted to do that this year, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'll give my Final Four Thursday, dude. I'm like you. I really don't have a feel. I have Alabama in there. I have Michigan. And between USC, LSU, Georgia losing 25 players. Georgia's got a cakewalk of a schedule, though.
Yeah, I think they're like 120-something strength of schedule. It's like, how does that happen?
That's what's wrong with college football. They need a top 10 schedule at least, not top 100.
I mean, they still play, you know, their SEC schedule. So, you know,
they play at Tennessee this year. Now, Tennessee may get them this year.
One of the biggest games of the college year. I'm looking forward to Tennessee playing this Saturday here in Nashville.
Are you going to the game?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, wow. So do you take Tennessee minus 28.5?
That number is crazy to me.
That is a high number, right?
That's what worries me. That, like, you see the trend of Tennessee going up and how well they played last year. And to me, I'm a little nervous that they're not going to be as good, even though they should be.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of hard to, like, really put your eggs in that basket just yet because it's still new and, it all is going to, be on Joe Milton's shoulders to an extent. But I believe that Coach Heupel is a great coach, and I think they actually have been recruiting pretty well, and their defense is going to be better, which I think will tremendously help the team.
Nice.
So, yeah. So I think their two starting receivers are going to have a huge year, regardless. I think
that's nice.
Brew McCoy is going to have a great year. I think Squirrel White is going to be like a Jalen Hyatt type season out of him. But yeah, I'll be excited to see that kickoff this Saturday. I wish it was a later kickoff though. It's 11 a.m. kick here.
I'm not.
Which I think is ridiculous for a neutral site game. Like, why would you choose to play such an early game with a neutral site game?
I was hoping they would put it at 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern. Mm-hmm. TCU's playing Colorado at the same time. I've already got my whole Saturday planned out there. I'm making lasagna, eating a bunch of junk food, cigars, pickles.
How wild would it be if Deion and Colorado upsets them?
I tell you what, folks, I'm thinking about taking Deion and his son at 20.5 plus. It's at TCU though. So, but they lost their quarterback. You never know. They lost some players.
I think he actually got cut today too.
He got cut.
Max Duggan.
He got Pickles. He got what was his name?
Max Duggan.
Everybody Duggan. Duggan got cut. Remember that song? Everybody Duggan.
I forgot what team. I think he went to a West Coast team in the NFL.
Yeah, he went to the Chargers.
Yeah, I think he got cut today.
Yeah, he got cut. You never know. He still may bounce back, man. This is good stuff, Rich. I'm excited for I'm a little disappointed that week one is you got a lot of Alabama and MTSU playing and Georgia and UT Martin and
that's how it starts out. I mean, and actually I think
you like that.
Just a little bit. Like you let the big teams kind of get, geared up and they don't necessarily have a preseason, so I think it's cool to see them get geared up and then so those games in late September and October when they start playing their SEC schedule or their rivals, then you start to see some really good college football.
I won't knock down, drag out. You got all summer to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Well, LSU and Florida State will play.
Yeah.
And, God forbid the hurricane doesn't hurt anybody. Thoughts and prayers with anybody from Tampa to South Carolina? They play North Carolina too, by the way, Saturday.
Yeah, like I said, I really like their quarterback at North Carolina.
Spencer Rattler?
No, that's South Carolina's.
That's what I'm saying. Rattler versus Drake May.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's going to be a cool matchup. Yeah,
take the over, folks. Then again, it may be under a hurricane.
Spencer Rattler, that's another quarterback that's coming out this year too. That's another quarterback to add to that draft class.
He lit Tennessee up, didn't he?
He had the game of his life last year, and it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he did.
That was just the worst case in all scenarios for Tennessee that game, and
he perfect storm.
It really was.
It was an Ida.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, I appreciate it. Definitely welcome back. Man, I keep telling all my Titans people after the Titans game, we'll have to – I'll bring you in that Monday or Tuesday. Well, they do play Sunday. Probably that Tuesday. Maybe that Tuesday after they play the Saints. Good, bad, or ugly. We'll just have to break it down, man.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right,
have a good one.
You too.
All right, man. All right, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope. Good night, everybody.